1. Northern Arizona pneumonic plague death. What you need to know. 2. Plague death in Arizona. What you need to know about the Black Death resurgence. 3. First pneumonic plague death in Arizona in nearly 20 years. 4. Pneumonic plague fatality in northern Arizona. What you need to know. 1. Northern Arizona pneumonic plague death. What you need to know. A tragic reminder, deadly pneumonic plague claims life in northern Arizona. But here's what you need to know. In a rare and alarming case, a resident of northern Arizona has succumbed to pneumonic plague, a severe and highly contagious form of the infamous bacterial infection. Health officials confirmed the fatality on Friday, marking the first recorded death from this disease in Coconino County since 2007. While the victim's identity remains undisclosed, the incident has reignited concerns about this ancient yet persistent threat. Plague might sound like a relic of the Middle Ages, when it wiped out millions in 14th century Europe, but it still lurks in modern times. Thankfully, advancements in medicine mean it's now treatable with antibiotics. Yet, as this case proves, it can still turn deadly if not caught in time. Here's the twist. Plague isn't just one disease. It manifests in 3 forms. The most common, bubonic plague, spreads through flea bites and primarily affects rodents like prairie dogs and rats. Then there's septicemic plague, which invades the bloodstream, and pneumonic plague, the rarest but most dangerous variant, which attacks the lungs and can spread through airborne droplets. Yes, you read that right. Pneumonic plague can pass from person to person, making it a public health priority. How does this happen? The bacteria hitch a ride via infected fleas that jump from rodents to pets or humans. Direct contact with infected animals or their bodily fluids is another risk factor. Health experts urge extreme caution around sick or dead animals, especially in high-risk regions like rural areas of northern New Mexico, Arizona, southern Colorado, California, southern Oregon, and western Nevada. But here's where it gets controversial. Despite its rarity, only about 7 U.S. cases per year, mostly in western states, should we be doing more to monitor and prevent outbreaks? Or is the current vigilance sufficient? Some argue that climate change and urban expansion into wildlife habitats could increase human exposure. Do you agree? One thing's clear. This case is a sobering reminder that even in the age of modern medicine, ancient diseases can still strike. Could better public awareness or faster response systems have changed the outcome? Share your thoughts below. Do you think health officials are doing enough, or is this a wake-up call for stronger measures? 2. Plague death in Arizona. What you need to know about the Black Death resurgence. Imagine the shock of hearing that a deadly disease, thought to be nearly eradicated, has claimed a life once again in the United States. That's exactly what has happened in Arizona, where health officials have confirmed the first human death from pneumonic plague since 2007. But here's where it gets controversial. Despite its terrifying reputation, plague is now a rare occurrence, yet it still lurks in certain regions, reminding us that some ancient threats never fully disappear. On July 12, 2025, news broke that a resident of northern Arizona, specifically in Coconino County, which includes the city of Flagstaff, had succumbed to this bacterial infection. Authorities have not disclosed the victim's identity or further details, respecting the family's privacy during this difficult time. Coconino County's Board of Supervisors expressed their condolences, emphasizing the community's support and the importance of respecting the family's privacy. Historically, plague is infamous as the Black Death, a devastating pandemic that swept through Europe in the 14th century, wiping out an estimated 60% of the population across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa between 1346 and 1353. Today, thanks to modern medicine, plague is rarely deadly and can be effectively treated with antibiotics. Still, it remains a concern because of its potential to cause outbreaks, especially in rural areas. There are 3 main forms of plague caused by the bacteria *Yersinia pestis*, the bubonic form, which is the most common and typically transmitted through flea bites, septicemic plague, which spreads through the bloodstream, and pneumonic plague, which infects the lungs and is the most lethal and contagious form. The bacteria are primarily carried by rodents such as prairie dogs and rats, and transmission to humans often occurs via infected fleas or contact with bodily fluids from sick or dead animals. Health experts advise caution when handling wildlife or carcasses in affected areas. Most cases of plague in the U.S. are reported in rural regions of northern New Mexico, northern Arizona, southern Colorado, California, southern Oregon, and far western Nevada. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, between 1970 and 2020, there have been approximately 496 documented cases nationwide, with more than half occurring in New Mexico. These cases tend to be sporadic but serve as a stark reminder that the threat still exists. In recent history, a notable case appeared in southern Colorado last July, following the death of a New Mexico resident from plague earlier that year. This pattern underscores the ongoing, if rare, presence of plague in the southwestern United States. So, while plague is now a manageable disease thanks to antibiotics, its resurgence in Arizona raises important questions. Are we truly out of the woods, or is this a sign that we need to remain vigilant? Could climate change or urban expansion increase the risk of future outbreaks? And what does this mean for public health strategies moving forward? What do you think? Should we be more concerned about the re-emergence of ancient diseases like plague, or is this just a rare anomaly? Share your thoughts and join the conversation. 3. First pneumonic plague death in Arizona in nearly 20 years. A chilling reminder of the past has resurfaced. An Arizona resident has tragically died from pneumonic plague, marking the first fatality in the region in nearly 2 decades. This news serves as a stark wake-up call, highlighting the enduring presence of this ancient disease and the importance of understanding its risks. According to official reports, the unfortunate victim, whose identity has not been released, resided in Coconino County, Arizona, the same county that encompasses the city of Flagstaff. The last recorded death from the plague in this area occurred way back in 2007. This underscores just how rare such occurrences are in modern times. Nationwide, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, estimates that only about 7 cases of plague are diagnosed in the United States each year. The vast majority of these cases are concentrated in the western states, particularly in rural areas. Think of places like northern New Mexico, northern Arizona, southern Colorado, California, southern Oregon, and western Nevada. These areas often have larger populations of wild rodents, which are the primary carriers of the disease. But here's where it gets controversial. The plague is most commonly associated with Africa, where it continues to pose a significant public health challenge. The plague is typically transmitted to humans through the bites of fleas that have fed on infected wild rodents, such as prairie dogs, rats, and squirrels. However, it's crucial to understand that the disease can also spread directly from person to person, specifically in the case of pneumonic plague. Pneumonic plague, the form that claimed the Arizona resident's life, is the most dangerous manifestation of the disease. It attacks the lungs, causing severe pneumonia and respiratory failure. This is in contrast to the more common bubonic plague, which affects the lymph nodes, and the less frequent septicemic plague, which infects the bloodstream. And this is the part most people miss. While the plague is often associated with the devastating Black Death pandemic of the 14th century, which wiped out millions of Europeans, it's important to remember that modern medicine offers effective treatments. Antibiotics are highly effective in combating the plague, especially when administered promptly. The Cleveland Clinic explains that pneumonic plague causes severe pneumonia and respiratory failure. This form of the disease is particularly dangerous because it can spread through the air via respiratory droplets, making it highly contagious. The Arizona Department of Health Services has not yet released any further details regarding the recent case. Asterisk asterisk, what are your thoughts? Asterisk asterisk, does this news surprise you? Are you concerned about the potential for the plague to resurface in your community? Share your opinions and any questions you have in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about this important public health issue. 4. Pneumonic plague fatality in northern Arizona. What you need to know. A tragic reminder. Ancient disease claims a life in modern Arizona. A resident of northern Arizona has succumbed to pneumonic plague, according to health officials. A stark reminder that even in our advanced medical era, age-old diseases can still pose a threat. But here's what's truly surprising. This marks the first fatal case of pneumonic plague in Coconino County since 2007. While authorities haven't disclosed the victim's identity, this incident raises urgent questions about our preparedness for rare but deadly infections. Plague might sound like a relic of the Middle Ages, when it wiped out millions in 14th century Europe, but it still lingers today, albeit in much smaller numbers. On average, only about 7 human cases are reported annually in the US, mostly in western states. The good news? Modern antibiotics can effectively treat it. The bad news? If left untreated, certain forms, like pneumonic plague, can be fatal and highly contagious. There are 3 types of plague. 1. Asterisk asterisk bubonic plague asterisk asterisk, the most common, spread by fleas on rodents like prairie dogs and rats. 2. Asterisk asterisk septicemic plague asterisk asterisk, a bloodstream infection. 3. Asterisk asterisk pneumonic plague asterisk asterisk, the deadliest, attacking the lungs and easily transmitted between humans. The bacteria spreads through flea bites or contact with infected animals or their bodily fluids. Health experts strongly advise caution when handling sick or deceased wildlife, especially in high-risk regions like northern New Mexico, Arizona, southern Colorado, California, southern Oregon, and western Nevada. Now, here's the controversial part. Should we be doing more to monitor and prevent these rare but deadly outbreaks? Or is the current response sufficient given how uncommon plague is today? Let us know in the comments. Do you think public health agencies should prioritize plague prevention or focus on more prevalent modern diseases? Meanwhile, other health stories making headlines. Over 2,000 Portland residents face homelessness due to delayed rent assistance from the Oregon Health Plan. Weather changes can trigger migraines. Here's what sufferers should know. An Oregon city removes fluoride from drinking water after public pushback. By using this site, you agree to our user agreement and acknowledge that your interactions may be tracked for analytics and advertising purposes. For full details, review our privacy policy.